Welcome back to our password speed run. That loud motorcycle noise that's happening right now is because of how fast we're gonna go, which is this new strat where I enable skip text and then I fast forward through the novel, and then we beat it. Right? It's a speed.
What a gift. I'm so glad we unlocked this special new mode, this special new way to play.
Anyway, so we'll see if we succeed this time, but I think for like the last 5 times I've sat down, I've been like, okay, we've had enough repetitive rants. It's time to actually just hunker down and try to like push through the text and get to the next bit so we have new things to talk about. And instead, we've had like an asymptotic relation to progress where the rants paradoxically get longer and I just lose control. I'm like, no, please, we have to see when the bad thing happens.
I'm not gonna rant. I've dissociated. I'm fully disconnected. We're good. I'm in the right state of mind to read a visual novel right now. So
what he means is that his neck is physically removed from the rest of his body, and that Toaster has been harmed. Toaster is incapacitated and struggling to remain upright.
I am. I am. No, I'm getting old. I'm an adult because.
Do you have like a neck pillow?
I do. My chair. I've just been sitting wrong in my chair for a few days, and my back is really hurt. And I thought I was getting sick because usually, like when my back hurts and I get like a migraine, that's like the symptoms that I've had every single time I've gotten like COVID. So I'm like, great. Did I get sick somewhere and just didn't understand where?
Did you get your
and it turns out no, it's just
COVID.
Yeah, it's just that I lean forward in my chair too much. I'm not even slouching. I'm just leaning forward so I can see things better. And I just pulled a muscle in my neck and have just really terrible migraines and back pain this week. So I'm leaning back in my chair. The back is fully flush against my chair, and I'm going to read Password, an activity that one does when they're on a lot of pain medication.
I've been getting old sucks. It's bad. You start to struggle at just sleeping correctly. Like,
yeah,
I've been trying to get into a rhythm where I go for a walk and then I use the rowing machine each morning to like have any kind of like activity and so on. And I've had to like just keep giving up on the second part because I keep like fucking up and rolling over and doing weird shit when I'm sleeping, and then my neck just hurts in the morning. And I'm like, I'm not gonna try to use a rowing machine with neck pain. I don't hate myself. But I'm just like, well, I guess that's out again. It's just shooting out diagonally across my entire room as a tripping hazard. I've made mistakes. Anyway, back to the 20s. We're in the 20s of the days. I would expect people to be bleeding by now. I'm hoping they start bleeding soon. That's not me hating the characters and wishing death on them. It's just the promise that was made by the genre going in. Thanatos, are you around? Calling out for him seemed like the safest place to start. His habit of just being around made it seem like I could just call and he'd be there, though that was hardly working. Are you down here? It hadn't occurred to me just how difficult he might be to find, given that he could just as easily avoid being found. That left me in the lurch. The vault. I found myself standing in front of the vault door. This was all that rat was, a computer attached to a room holding a secret. With a frown, I inspected the input panel. There was a word that existed that opened the door, but part of me deep down said that I'd never know what that word would be. Something about the panel drew my attention, and I leaned in a bit closer. At first I thought I'd seen something, but it was something I'd heard instead. Almost like the churning of heavy metal combined with the sound of a clock ticking. I didn't think bomb, and more felt that it was closer to breathing. That this sound was the mechanical version of whatever was beating in my chest. So he means he doesn't think the ticking is a bomb. It's like not what came to his mind, but that was a strange way to put that. Thanatos, can you hear me? There was nothing that came as a reply, but I continued speaking anyway. If he could see everything that happened in front of this door, there was no doubt in my mind that, if not now, but sometime, he'd come and pay a visit. Huh. Odd sentence again. I had a dream last night, but it wasn't... What I mean to say is, you didn't make me remember anything, right? That wasn't you? Again, the silence stretched out, making me fidget. How traumatic can an event be for me to remember it? How can I tell the difference between what's a dream and what's a memory? A dry laugh found its way out of my mouth, and I shook my head. Are there even any more passwords for me to find? For me to remember? I would hope so. You've used like 3 in the video game.
What if there just aren't anymore? Like the rest of the game, the rest of the game just drops them like it has already. It's like, nope, that's a plot element that we're not revisiting.
Like, instead of being a thing that Dave was training for, the crisis finally starts and people are in danger, and he just never uses the passwords at any time, at any point.
Yep. I mean, that's the path that we're on. That depends.
I immediately turned on my heel and looked back towards the door. Standing just out of view was Thanatos, his beady red eyes glowing softly in the dark. Depends on what?
You, mostly.
I'd rather there be no more passwords if I had my say.
If Dave had to say nothing would ever happen, ever.
Yeah.
Why?
Because that means that nothing bad happened, and I didn't have to step in and prevent it?
Literally was just like, I just don't want any agency. Everything would be good if I had no agency.
I mean, it makes sense because he just wants no one to die. And so if there's no passwords, then that means nobody died, but from our perspective,
it is just funny
like,
to
oh
have
God.
the main character. It's just funny to have the main character be like, I wish I could do nothing forever. This is a story about me. Or the opposite. That this is just the first time around this set of variables, and it's your job to survive long enough for a password to be made.
Is that how it works?
Are the passwords being made? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know. This is new lore. I don't think this sentence is anything that we knew before. There's like a specific process through which passwords are created. 'Cause it feels like even when you witness a bad outcome and then get a password from it, that wasn't necessarily how the passwords were made, given that we've had multiple times where you then... We've twice now intuited a password to an ending that we never had. Speaking of which, I'm very tempted that the moment the password prompt happens, I actually save, go back to the werewolf route, don't enter it, and just fucking see the bad ending already. Because I thought we were being tricked. The game made me think we were being tricked because Thanatos was like, sucker. And I'm like, okay, so he manipulated us into using a password and it's actually a bad thing? But that's never come up again. And Thanatos has not been betraying us or acting any more devious, and Dave immediately forgot he said that, apparently, because he's never brought it up or questioned him on it. And it's gotten to the point where now our Discord audience is questioning that it might be a Homestuck reference that doesn't make any sense. Which, that would be bad. So, if it's a Homestuck reference, that's not good. Not because it's Homestuck, but because I don't care about Homestuck, but because that word means something, and putting it in the context of you getting knocked out makes it think you've been tricked, and here comes the reveal that Thanatos is actually manipulating you, and this is a bad ending. But it wasn't. It's been going on forever. This clearly isn't a bad ending.
The thing about it that makes it weird, like the quote-unquote reference theory, is a little bit strange, because in Homestuck, like, yes, that like their description of what happens does happen. A character is basically manipulated into doing something that they thought that they wanted to do, that they did in effect need to do, but helped a antagonist's plan come to fruition. So when they do a thing, the antagonist says sucker, and then they like pass out. Pretty much exactly what happens in this. But the thing is, the context of that is that it was literally a gotcha, where it's like, haha, you like, this is all playing into my hand. Whereas like in this, it doesn't make sense to say sucker there. Like, it wasn't a gotcha. It was like, You
Yeah.
did the thing I explicitly told you to do that you didn't want to do, sucker. It's like, it's weird. It's like a weird
the problem
moment.
is that, like, it become, like, in context from a larger thing, we know that it doesn't make sense so far, seemingly. At least it sure seems like it, unless it's completely dropped and comes out 7 days later suddenly, and you're like, wait, what? But
Yeah.
the moment he does say sucker, it instantly contextualizes that scene as being a gotcha. So you're just waiting.
yeah.
So now you're waiting for the narrative to proceed forward in the context of, like, oh, we've been manipulated by Thanatos and he's betraying us. But then the narrative doesn't ever acknowledge that again. So you're like, wait, I don't. I'm so confused by why he said that then, and why that's in the script. Like, I don't know why it's in the story.
Yeah.
So now I just want to go back and have everyone get killed by the werewolf ending or whatever, because that's the only way I can feel.
The downside of it, so on one hand, it's either a scene that doesn't make sense, or if it's a reference that shows that the person that wrote the reference doesn't understand the thing it's referencing, which is also sad in its own way. So,
yeah, because you can't just reference something for no reason.
Yeah.
You can technically have a character reference something for no reason in a not narratively important moment.
What we supposed to take from this, that Thanatos is a big Homestuck fan, but doesn't get Homestuck?
Maybe. He's like Caesar from New Vegas. He doesn't understand the thing that he's quoting.
he's huspilled. Great.
I don't know. Literally all I know about Homestuck is that they sued Sarah Zed for talking about them. Or they tried, or they threatened to sue them. So that's my exposure. That's not a really great intro to make you may want to read any of it.
I've read all of it. It's really fucking good. That's all I have to say about it. I'm not going to argue with anyone about it. Homestuck is a
isn't a lot of it impossible to
thing.
Experience correctly anymore anyway because of the death of Flash?
No, you can experience it all. There's a reader for it. You just have to download some files.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine a fucking Homestuck Let's Play. That would be a thing that I would do.
Does Let's Play even fit the phrase? I guess we're playing visual novels. Yeah,
it's basically a visual novel now. It loads in its own application, so.
I'm afraid to have a Homestuck audience. I don't know what that means.
Yep.
Only you know that, right?
Yep. Yes and no. There's always a third option. Is there? Didn't you say that there wasn't a third option before Thanatos? Whatever you experienced last night, I didn't cause. Maybe I'm rubbing off on you.
Don't go telling Roswell. He might get jealous I'm developing psychic powers. I mean, you definitely are, Dave. Like, we called hours and hours ago that the true ending is going to be you morphogenetic field into being the demigod character and can see all timelines like Dr. Manhattan and probably save everyone, but kind of lose yourself in the music the moment you want it. He seemed to regard the statement carefully for a few moments, measuring his words.
Yeah, I bet he would get jealous.
Is there a way to tell him the difference between what's a dream and what's a memory?
Not really.
Not at all? Well, you see, Dave, in dreams, light switches don't work.
Well, with how consistent you are, not that I know of anyway, what makes you think what you saw was a memory?
It was strange. It was like I was there, but I wasn't. Like I was looking through the eyes of the me that,
That's definitely a noted quality of memories, is it being strange. Yeah, real easy to follow.
Sorry, it was almost like an out-of-body experience, but in-body experience instead?
Listen, I had nothing to do with whatever it was you saw. Could be a dream, could be a memory. But whatever it was, I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about.
I frowned, thinking back to the dream. We were outside, and, you had just given me a vision, I think?
That ain't narrowing it down.
And there was talk about Jack? a plan or something?
I think you're better off asking yourself if that was sufficiently traumatic to even be a thing to recall.
You have a point.
Think about it this way. You can't remember anything unless you've been traumatized by the event.
He backed up a little, half shrouding himself in the darkness of the basement.
Thought he was already shrouded in the darkness of the basement. It would introduce by saying he was just out of view. So tell me, Dave, that line up to your dream?
Well, not really.
Then you just had a dream. Nothing else.
You're sure?
I'm sure.
Dave, confront him with the detail about where the metal is. You don't sound it.
Look, if you want to fight about it, then give me something to work with. I have other things I need to be doing now anyway.
I doubt that.
Then go do them, you stupid rat. Fuck you.
Such as? What's more important than helping me figure this out?
Making sure Benson behaves himself.
And what does that mean?
I need to make sure that he doesn't go playing with guns today. That's all.
Are we in danger?
When aren't you? You were in danger the moment you showed up on the mountain.
It sure hasn't felt that way.
Well, maybe not you, but count it anyway.
Thanos disappeared into darkness before I could cross the distance of the room to the door. He was gone for good. I wandered back upstairs and looked around the foyer. No sign of Benson yet, but with Thanos tracking him down, I guess I didn't have to worry. Thinking back to what Haas said, I was due to float between groups, and now seemed like a good as any to check in. The kitchen group or the museum group? Just kidding, it's gonna be the werewolf group. Time plus. There's no good time to do this. It's just an awkward element of my life. Toaster is watching the playthrough grow in real time, in horror.
Am I? Is that what I'm doing right now?
Shit, what was the correct answer at this point? Tyson, because of the headache? Input password. I was hesitating and I didn't know why. Wow, I nailed it. I'm here. I whined, backing away from the panel and almost tripping over my feet. I don't know. I quickly looked at Thanatos, who seemed bored more than anything else.
That's a shame.
Help me. Please.
I told you, kid, that's not how this works.
But someone could...
Guess we'll just have to see what happens, huh?
How could I not worry? There's... What could be more important than figuring out that word?
I was going to get something while you were unconscious, but give me a couple minutes and I'll go get it. I was gonna go get something, so give me a couple minutes to go get something.
He was gonna sneakily and cool boy get it while we were unconscious, I guess. But now we're too stupid. He's gotta be so frustrated because he spoon-fed us the answer and we're just like, I don't get it. I'm Dave. No.
Why?
Help
so
me.
Why are we going back? That's just my question. Why are we going back? What's your game plan?
To see the werewolf ending.
Does it matter?
It's a bad ending. We didn't see one.
You're right. We didn't. We didn't see a good ending either.
Yeah, but it's just the game's just gonna go on forever, clearly, and also through the ending, and not like dead end with Thanos betraying us, and it's annoying to skip to miss bad endings, but now fucking.
I guess
there's no elegant way to go back for these things, just like with Sal.
True.
When we tried to check the other out.
Part of me is just wondering if the pattern is going to continue, which is that the bad endings aren't actionable and aren't useful, so why even spend time looking at them?
Well, we'll learn that when it happens. If it does just loop all the way back to day 21 and doesn't have any new things happen, then we'll know that now. But
good probably for us.
Yeah, we're learning. We're scientists. Well, like,
I think we've learned. I think we're learned, and now we're just going through the motions.
Okay, well then, do you think this is a bad ending or not? Since you've learned.
No, I think it's a bad ending. I just think it'll be the same as all the other ones, which is useless information that's not going to help us at all.
That's not always true, because we got our first hint of the Dragon Mafia and stuff wasn't a bad ending, but also it's just
which has ultimately been
a
useless information.
I guess, but it's the setup. It's like it's doing the equivalent of what Zero Escape does, where the various bad endings actually end up establishing something. Because the whole point of that game is you're supposed to eventually learn how to remember all the bad endings, and you eventually will then know all that information that was dropped in these dead ends.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that's what actually
people actually
happens.
Violently dying and whatnot, and action happening of some sort. Like
that would be cool.
Part of the genre, and if we don't, and if we just like, if we expertly dodge all of those moments, then we're kind of punishing ourselves by just having the game be exclusively us hanging out in a dining room and chatting about our feelings, but not in a deep way.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying that isn't how visual novels should work. I'm saying I'm wondering if that is how this one will work, or if we are just Sisyphus rolling a rock up a hill to experience the same
things can be true.
Sad disappointment every single time.
I mean, the Orlando ending's very funny.
Yeah.
He scurried away without hearing me half beg for him to stay. I think you were literally begging. I was alone in the room, spinning around to desperately try anything else that came to mind. Again and again I got the same chime, and eventually I just clung to it, sobbing in fear that I just doomed someone to die because I was too stupid to think of a word. I don't know how long I'd been standing there, but before I noticed the odd squeaking sound coming from behind me.
I'm back. Got something for you.
He kicked what looked to be a card towards me, and I knelt down to pick it up, wiping my eyes with my sleeve as I did so. But when I saw what he'd passed me, I froze, a whine starting in my throat but catching before it could come out as sound. What is this?
It's a license.
It's my dad's license.
Yeah, well, he must have left it here when he came to visit.
I stared blankly at him, waiting for an explanation.
Let's see, must have been about a year ago, maybe a little more than that. Showed up in Civies, had a chat with Oswin, and left later that night. Looked grim as all get up, though. I thought we already saw this part.
Yeah, I'm wondering why this isn't flagged. Let's see. Mr. Rat, I'm not a mind reader. We've done all of this before. He doesn't even know he's not a rat yet. Wow, this is way back. Okay, now it's skipping. Just some of those lines weren't listed as new, or were listed as separate, I guess. I looked at the card in my hand before looking back to Thanatos. So you know what's behind this door too?
Of course.
I don't know if I can believe you. This isn't something that just robots like you don't exist outside of television or movies.
So he does know he's not a rat.
I think that was just revealed in the skip.
Okay. What? You don't think that given enough time, something like me could be made? I'm proof that it happened, alright?
But why make you at all? Why make you talk? Having some great machine see the versions of the past is one thing, but making that same machine be able to think just...
Oh, that. Maybe don't try and combine the two. I didn't ask to be given a body and some level of free will. That was all because a certain someone was lonely and wanted someone to talk to.
Who, Oswin?
Who else?
Well, Benson, maybe?
Oh, you think he and I might get along?
Somehow I doubt it.
Well, you're right. No sense of fun, so I don't know why I bother. Those reactions sometimes are priceless.
I don't want to get on his bad side, but I feel like I might not have a choice depending on how well he's going to react to, well, this. I waved the license around one last time before it found its way into my pocket.
Who knows, and I sure don't care one way or another.
He left it at that, turning around and scurrying away out of sight before I could get another word in. Speaking with Benson was all I had left, really. At least as far as leads went, because otherwise I was a bit stuck for what to be doing on the back of what I'd spent the day doing. Huh. No, which worries me. Which worries me in the fact that, okay, what was the last line? He caught me at the vault and figured out that I wanted to try solving the password and need help. And did he help? No. No, which worries me in that I either screwed up big time or he was just messing with me.
Which do you honestly believe it is?
I can't say. Worry tells me that I've just gotten my friends killed and I don't even know how yet.
Normally, I'd say not to listen to the rat, but we may be faced with a problem we cannot solve.
Any advice?
On the back of dealing with Jack, and whatever else might come our way, an attack from within is something we're just not ready for. Granted, that would be the worst case scenario, given the more likely scenario is an attempt from Jack to get at the vault. Can't be too careful, however. You don't need to worry about that, Benson. Jack just disappeared from the plot after he showed up for the first time, so you're fine.
For almost 10 days, I think. Not now, but by where we are. So we can't do anything?
If anything, I think now would be a good time for you to head on inside for a bite to eat.
Let's see. I'm looking forward to when we get back home, me too. I rubbed my eyes and shifted away from Tyson. I miss my bed, I think. I'll fight you for it when we get back. You can have the sofa. It got a chuckle out of me, and he stood and patted me on the head as he walked towards the door. You want anything from downstairs? Nah, I'll probably turn in and just try to get my mind settled. Unless you want to do something later. Maybe. I'll check in on you later, if you're awake. And we'll go from there. So now we're not swapping beds. What? Creepy dad dream? There Dad was, leaning on the fence, just watching me quietly. What else had been hiding from me? Was it just a coincidence that I had also found my way here? Not that really mattered, as his reasons for keeping those secrets likely died with him. Then I was in my room again, standing in front of the desk, looking down at my craft supplies. I could feel his presence before I turned around, and when he was... But there he was, with a calm smile on his face.
Hello.
Hey, Dream Sal.
Are you coloring? Can I do some coloring?
Oh, I suppose you can, but I'm just mostly thinking.
What about?
Just everything. Mostly how I'm feeling.
Soft.
I mean, more inside.
So did I. You feel soft, tender. That any little thing is gonna hit you harder than you're ready for.
I guess so?
You're thinking, it would be nice if I could be like Sal. He's not soft.
That's not true. You're soft, just on the inside.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. I feel like there's no answer to that. Now's not a good time to be, you know, soft.
Maybe not, but what are you gonna do about it?
Can I come talk to you about it? That'd be alright, right? He flashed me a quick thumbs up as things started to go black. Part of me doubted if I could approach Sal about how I was feeling. Not that he wouldn't listen, but more wondering if it was fair. We were all going through things, but knowing it'd be worse if I left it bottled up, I figured it wouldn't hurt to ask. I'm kind of looking forward to like the true ending playthrough where we're like doing a Tyson route and Oswin's alive, because it'll have such a bizarre feeling of like this like dreamlike associative thing where we keep skipping forward a half a day at a time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It'll feel like the dream sequences in a way, like how this is going. Sitting there on the bed, I wondered if Thanatos was telling the truth or not. That there was a password for me. If there was, had I missed it? Or because I'd missed it, was it better to just prepare for the worst? What if he was lying? Stuff like this. Seemed like we're gonna have a repeat of yesterday, just with new targets, but maybe Haas and Dean could do something to solve the problem before it got worse. Oh, well. I'm fine.
It's not a bother.
Was this a response to? Want to bother you with stuff? Upset? Okay. Talking about the looming death, probably.
Besides, I'll end up worrying about you now that I know something is wrong.
I gestured in the air loosely, looking to him. I just don't know what we're meant to do, or even what a normal person is meant to do in a situation like this.
This isn't a situation most people would ever find themselves in.
Yeah, but then how are you meant to cope, to deal with it all, I mean?
It's not the best test of one's character, but a test all the same.
Who's testing us?
If you're expecting me to say something like a god or something, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know what I believe in as far as that, but I'd like to think there's a reason for all this happening.
Like what?
Oh, I don't honestly know. Just too many coincidences that seem to line up as if this was all planned.
What specifically?
The planned deaths, the vault working for you, the road, the people in the woods.
The planned deaths? The only death that we know was planned so far is Thanatos creating the werewolf ending.
Yep.
Because he actively fucks with Tyson. I don't know how you create the death. I don't know how you plan the death where someone drops a gun and it shoots Orlando at random. Maybe he has that level of chaos theory power, but damn. How are those connected exactly?
Does it seem more likely that they're completely unconnected?
So far, in that the road and stuff are like the Dragon Mafia, and they're not working for the Vault and haven't gotten here yet, so they're making those plans separately. They're connected in that the Vault is relevant, but it didn't do it.
It's not exactly a pattern, but finding the connection might still prove useful to settling your mind.
It might, but it could just be a series of just really unlucky events. With a sigh, Sal looked me over and grumbled.
Then there's only one thing we can do.
What? And then he would go hang out. Things haven't gotten better since then. There was Benson talking about, oh yeah, no kidding. Being unsuited to talk. Oh, okay, that's the whole. That's the only new line. Those are very funny. Like one slightly different reaction. We all have feelings. We all care to some extent. Okay, puts your arm comforting.
I think we already read that.
Yeah, I was going back to contextualize this line.
Yeah. You're still troubled by something.
I guess a little bit.
Did what we talked about not help at all?
No, it helped. It's just now processing it some more.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Oh, Sal, you've helped plenty.
That's good.
Is there anything I can help you with?
On the back of that, I don't want to impose.
Come on, Sal, it's only fair, right? You've helped me. I help you in return.
I just don't want to pile on when you're already struggling.
It'll be okay, I promise.
Would it be all right if we went to the pool?
Why the pool?
I'd like to normalize going outside again, if carefully. And I think about being around the water will help me keep focused on what I want to talk about.
Well, I guess that's okay.
You're uncomfortable with going outside still. It's all right.
No, well, yes, but I'm willing to try, if it'll help.
We don't have to go into the pool if you don't want to, but it is something I would like, yes.
And when we're there, you want to talk about something? I swear to God, Dave. Okay, I'm gonna... Yep, they're gonna talk at the pool. That's the conversation. Then they go get their stuff. Oh yeah, that was just logistics. It's not... There's no reason to keep reading that. The new room scene!
Wow.
Where I overreacted because like, oh my God, it's the new room. No one's acknowledging this new room. Is this a real conversation? I think this is new. Okay. I trailed off as I looked him over, unsure what to say.
Well.
Is there anything I can do to help?
With?
I don't know. It's just making me feel bad that you're sad and that I just have to watch you suffer.
I appreciate the gesture, Dave, but as much as I'm suffering as you put it, I am fine. I've been through worse.
Sure, but you've been keeping us safe, right? When do you get to take a break and just rest?
I'm afraid there might not be a time, my boy. Not until you're all safely off the mountain or I expire from lack of sleep.
But you need to sleep.
Tell that to the rat that keeps me up at night.
You really don't like Thanatos, huh? He's gonna die of sleep nodding. Tyson must have heard me come in, angrily washing the dishes from dinner. Ty? What? I wasn't sure what to say. He still seemed irritated, and I just quietly came up next to him to dry what he'd washed. I'm trying to get in my own head a little bit here, interpreting this, because like,
yeah,
obviously I know an unfair amount of stuff because of the other timeline, but I'm genuinely looking at the brief scenes we're getting spliced together of like Dave confronting different people about his own ineptitude and the struggles he's having and the specific ways he interacts with Tyson and Sal and Benson in these like tiny micro scenes. And I kind of feel like if you ran these end to end as the original draft, it would still be legible as a story to the point where I'm like, I don't know how much we're losing by skipping the other stuff. It's like, you have to be very careful writing scenes this short, but it does kind of feel like it kind of works, where I'm like, maybe this, it's like kind of to the testament of like, maybe this doesn't have to be as long as it is.
I would agree.
It was a tense chore, him threatening to smash the plates as he passed them to me. The last few were barely washed properly, but he drained the water and snatched the towel off of me to dry his hands. Like, this instantly conveys, okay, Tyson's degrading between these scenes. He's getting worse.
Yeah.
Later. Wait, Ty. I reached out for his hand, and he flinched when I took it. I'm sorry that you're hurting. Is there anything I can do? I'm going to bed to try to rest it off. Don't worry about me. He jerked himself from my grip and wandered away, fur bristled and rubbing his head. I really don't know what I could do to help, but maybe just leaving him alone was for the best. What a mess. I collapsed on my bed, having showered and feeling exhausted after a day's worth of thinking. Things were fine, at least as fine as they could be. Dad's license was still on the bedside table from where I'd left it earlier, and I took it up to look it over. I ran my fingers over the sides of the card where it seemed that Thanatos had gnawed on it, thinking. I kind of forgot about the license because it hasn't been mentioned for like the last 3 days, I don't think.
Yeah, like most things in the game, it's brought up once and then dropped forever. Yeah. So
like, I didn't,
kind of
like,
just
I didn't
fell out of mind.
completely forget, and that I at least remembered that Dave's dad was here, because it's obviously like, oh, there's the whole conspiracy, here we go. But
yeah,
it's funny how immediately I'm like, oh right, there was a license. Because when Thanatos was like, I was gonna get something, but I guess I'll get it now. I'm like, I have no idea what he was talking about. Maybe Tyson and I could visit his grave when we got back home. Maybe even see if Mom wanted to come too and just sit down and talk this all out. That was something I really wanted to know. Why Mom kept her visit here from me. Why she never talked about Dad dying, and just having my mom back might be nice. Setting the license back down, I got up to switch off the light and return back to bed. It took some willing on my part to fall asleep, but I eventually did. I fell asleep to thoughts of home and family. As I dreamt, I worried for Tyson and hoped that he'd be better come morning. What day was Is 19 the day of the eclipse? Full moon. I sat up quickly in bed, scanning the room. As far as I could tell, it was the real thing, and I was now properly awake. The dream I had flashed in front of me again, and it felt like something was scratching at the back of my mind. It wasn't hurting so much as just annoying, but all the same I worried what was going to happen. I smirked quickly at the realization that all I'd been doing lately was worry. Nothing had happened, and outside of Thanos trying to rile me up, it seemed as though I was in the clear again. Or at least that was the lie I was trying to convince myself of to feel better. That lingering doubt clung to me as I got up, got dressed, and headed out from my bedroom. Things were not okay.
And yet, here you are, awake before any of us making breakfast.
Well, I couldn't sleep.
Did something happen?
No, just one of those nights, dreaming and thinking about things. Did you need to talk about it? Not really, it's just more of the same sort of things, worrying about what's going to happen and so on. But, are you okay otherwise? I think so. Mostly anyway.
If that changes, let us know. We've been over this enough times that you get the point by now.
Right. Thanks, Haas, but weirdly dickish way to say that. He hadn't said anything to me, just stomping around the coffee machine, but he looked wild. His fur was a mess, eyes were bloodshot and glassy, and seemed to be shaking violently as he poured his coffee. Something about it seemed so wrong, so frightening that old memories of just staying out of Tyson's way rose to the surface, and watched as he slowly looked over to me. Nothing was said as he held his mug. The cold look he was giving me made me huddle closer to the stove, forgetting about the pancake now starting to burn from me not having flipped it. But that was all he did. Stared and then left the dining room. What conversation that had been happening on the other side of the door stopped immediately, but otherwise there was silence. Brrr. So he's ungood. Distinctly and extremely ungood. What are you even doing? Did something happen? Is there a password?
Nothing like that. Besides, if you were going to solve that, you would have last time we were down here together. You're just a big fucking idiot, Dave. You'll never understand. You're a big dum-dum.
Like, Jesus Christ, Dave. Just read the walkthrough. I gave him a look, but he seemed to ignore my reaction, to just stare expectantly at me instead. Then, why did you come to the kitchen?
Checking out my options.
Like you were with Dean yesterday? Brrr. Roswell skipped. Dean is sad. Sad Dean.
Not when you say it like that, but it doesn't stop the feeling I have that things are only gonna get worse before they get better.
Sal, don't say that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Some of these reactions are just are kind of like a non-comment that's replacing a whole conversation that happens when you know things, essentially.
Yeah, this is why flowcharts are so necessary in visual novels. This skipping stuff, it immediately makes me go like, this is why I don't like this genre very much. It's just like, God damn it. This is such a bad user experience. This has nothing to do with Password. This is just a visual novel thing. Like,
yeah, no,
like
it's
VLR
it's
and
rough
Raging
to
Loop
fast forward.
solved this.
It's rough to fast forward through the stuff that you've seen before to see the small changes that were made in the middle of that. And in some way, I think that's implementing the skip feature correctly is also in many ways more hassle than the alternative. Because for me, the nice way to handle decision routes in a visual novel is to just genuinely actually just write a different route for every single choice.
Yes.
Like you genuinely just, it actually diverges. Like you make this, you write it, this requires you to also write a narrative where the decisions are divergent enough that they are immediately impactful in a way that you wouldn't just repeat the same scenes in both versions.
Yes.
Which isn't every narrative, obviously. Like we're talking about in this case, we have a decision that although it's less of a decision and more of an ability to get a vision, I guess. So it's less of like, do I go left or right, or do I grab the axe, but failing to get the password leads to a slow burn thing where for the next 3 days things are getting worse, but otherwise the exact same plot happens up to and including the Dean breakup. So you're just like. Yeah. Just skipping through all these bizarre esoteric scenes to read the weird excerpts, and in particular there's these odd moments where they have the flag moment where here's where a conversation would happen if you have the knowledge, and if you're then playing the no knowledge route, they just have like 3 placeholder lines there instead that are like, I don't know, man, the vibes are off, and then you just skip again, and you're like, well, that wasn't worth stopping on, but the dialogue had to be there for other reasons, like on a structural level, and not because it's necessarily actually written for like the experience of you skipping through the other route you haven't done yet, for example.
Yeah.
So if you're incredibly clever, you can write the game to be written for that experience, and that'd be interesting to figure out how to like properly optimize the narrative for the skipping experience, which will be part of the experience, that you're baking that in when you make a game this way. So the question is how to best implement that version of like, I'm playing the new game plus version of this route where I go to the other version knowing the other one, and whether or not you then like, do you write? Do you fucking write Jill and Chris A and B? Like, do you make a B route of every route? That's the version you get when you already know the A route that you happen to play first when you have the choice to do either one first? Because that would be insane and really cool. Especially interesting in a game. This isn't exactly the same because the passwords don't work the same as the morphogenetic fields, but that was how I was increasingly begging Virtue's Last Reward to work, is for more and more of the game to actually incorporate the knowledge we were gaining over the course of the routes, because especially when you get like in the second half of your playthrough, you now know so much, and Sigma still knows fucking nothing 90% of the time, because he can only ever selectively remember things at the end of some routes sometimes, or like 1 or 2 little pocket moments where they're being cute, because they, we're not going to write A and B routes of every single route, so you still get to deal with a guy that knows absolutely nothing every time it resets, and then you get another ending that gives you more information. But in a game about remembering stuff across timelines, even the actual genre, even the franchise that like people riff off of for this idea itself under-implements that idea in a way that I find frustrating, and why in many cases I found Zero Time Dilemma so promising was because it leaned way heavier into, hey, what if these people actually fucking remembered anything ever from other timelines when that's the premise of the series? But that's my boiling frustration with that franchise.
I think it works in VLR because the concept is the player as the morphogenetic field, so I find that interesting. But I think that ultimately, like, all of my complaints about skipping and flowcharts and stuff like that, it has nothing to do with ludonarrative. It literally is just, it sucks to hold control on your keyboard until you get 2 lines of dialogue, and then all of a sudden you're in a completely different scene with no context to what that scene is. It's just bad UX. Like, I don't understand why VNs don't try to solve for it.
Hit the log button to like read the last few lines and so on.
Yeah, it's just such bad UX. I don't understand why people put up with it.
It's such a common element of visual novels in RenP, and few of them feel like they're written to actually be played that way, despite the knowledge that you will definitely be playing them that way.
Yes,
unless you're a madman who's going to reread every word in its entirety, which you're allowed to do. But at that point, my brain would be short-circuiting, because even I would start to be like, I can't tell which scenes are new.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That happens.
I have too much shit to do in my life to reread all of that. Like, there's just no reason ever.
Like that's happened to me in a lot of video games, even like near the first one, when you're like, okay, time to do my New Game Plus playthrough, and eventually this will lead to a new ending, but the whole time I'm playing in the middle, I'm like, is this new? Is this story about Kaine longer than last time? Like, you start like second guessing so many things, because you don't know what the limits of your memory are and what are genuinely new scenes, which if you're doing a Let's Play, you're like, I don't know what parts of this to commentate over and put in the video, or if it's all just the same game again exclusively. I can't tell. Fuck.
Yeah.
And people are like, you missed this scene. I'm like, I didn't realize it was new. Was it new? Shit.
Yeah.
I wandered up to my room and stretched out, finding the tiredness hitting me faster now that I was in the comfort of my own room. Sitting down on the bed, I thought about what happened over the course of the day, rubbing my neck from where the stress of it all seemed to be making me feel stiff. A knocking at my door caught my attention, and I called out for whoever it was to enter.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
You weren't outside all that much longer than I was, Sal. I could have waited if it would have been easier.
It was mostly mustering up the courage, or rather the resolve, to ask you if you wanted to share a bed tonight.
Wait, to just share a bed, or?
Ooh woo.
Ooh woo.
Just share a bed. I feel it'd do us both some good to get a good cuddle in, although I understand if that's overstepping a line given what happened today.
No, that'd be great, actually.
Really?
I was actually just about to grab a shower, so you probably arrived at the best time.
Would I be able to impose upon you one more thing?
What's that?
Can we sleep in my room? I find it more familiar to me and ultimately a better source of sleep.
Oh, that's
your
fine,
room that's more familiar to you. It's just all the same room. What? They share the same background.
It's a slightly higher quality PNG.
You're more than welcome to shower in my room as well, ooh.
I actually have the deluxe suite. The sun goes down in my room. Sal took me by the hand and we left my bedroom behind. When we got to his, he urged me towards the bathroom, insisting that I shower first. I'd been waiting on my bed while he had his shower, and stepped out half-dressed. You put your clothes back on?
Well, you don't need me wandering around naked right about now.
Unless...
Yeah, Dave, it was never expected that you weren't... Okay.
Dave, did you think
he literally specified just sleeping in the bed? What are you talking about, Dave?
Dave, how could you possibly have any other expectations when a large man takes you to his bedroom and then you both shower first before joining each other in the bed?
No, it would be different if it was any other circumstance. But Dave goes like, it sounds like, I want to go just sleep with you, just sleep in bed, as in sleeping with our eyes closed. And Dave is like, so to clarify, just sleeping, right? And then he's like, yes, let's go to our other room. And then Dave's like, what the fuck? We aren't going to fuck? It's like, come on, Dave. Read the room.
I mean, if we're going to be dating, it's going to happen eventually. God, that face.
That's presumptuous.
I'm not sure if this face fully works, just because like his blushy face reads to me as the the horny old man in anime that doesn't respect boundaries.
Sure.
It's a lot. That face is a lot.
I suppose that is true, and the thought is a little exciting.
I swear to God, if we fuck Sal in the route where he explicitly says he didn't want to fuck, and then it's not even the route, it's not even the good ending of the other routes, I'm gonna actually lose my mind. I already have a migraine. I don't need this.
I suppose that is true, and the thought is a little exciting, but not tonight. I think it'd be best if we just cuddle.
Oh, well, that's fine too, I guess.
Are you disappointed?
Not disappointed? I guess it's more a case of being eager for flexing that privilege.
I'm flattered all the same. Being naked around one another, to me at least, has a different connotation now, so I'd rather play that slow.
It's alright, I understand. We can still cuddle though, right?
Of course.
I got into bed first and Sal followed by, sticking close. It wasn't long before Sal was comfortable, and before I was settled he shifted me so that I was more on him than the mattress. But the rise and fall of his chest lulled me to sleep quickly, and I drifted off with the worries of the day falling away as if they didn't matter anymore. What I didn't expect, though, was to wake to the resounding howl that echoed throughout the house. Here we go.